Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Heidi Kaisend at Hen and Chick Studio in Conrad, Iowa. Welcome to our third segment of Spring Break Snippets, where I am giving you, I hope, a lot of good foundational information and tidbits that will help you maybe improve your quilting, or if you're new and getting started, it'll explain some things. We could do this every day, 365 days a year, because there is so much information out there about quilting and different types of quilting. So like I'm calling it, it's just a little snippet of education and information that hopefully will land with you and help you do better in your quilt making. As always, I love it if you jump in the comments and tell me where you are watching from. Maybe you're on spring break and you want to tell me where your spring break is. Our spring break is in right here in Conrad, Iowa. I'm in our Nest, which is one of our 2 retreat centers, and Goldie, Virginia, and I actually did stay here for a few nights to enjoy a little spring break trip. Although they were working very, very hard on their bags for our toiletry drive, and you're going to continue to see more about that. They're making great progress on all of those bags. Anyway, we have got a great little show for you today, and good. I see some comments coming up, so thank you, all of you. Carolyn, Cindy, Carol that are joining in. I love it. I love seeing all those names. Today, the topic is about cutting. It is so critical for us to have good cutting skills because it's the first step in the process of making a quilt. And if our accuracy is not there, it just automatically, it'll start to change everything down the line. If your cutting is off and your piecing is off, your blocks are going to be off. If your blocks are off, your quilt top might be crooked, all sorts of things, right? So you always got to go back to the beginning, and we're going to talk about cutting. I do have a special offer for you today, so by all means, hang in there, and I will give that to you at the end. And I see people keep scrolling on, keep coming in there. Love it. Glad to have you all here. Now, if this is your first time and you're catching us, we are having Spring Break Snippets. There is a web link, website, henandchickstudio.com/springbreak. Videos 1 and 2 are already posted there. I had somebody the other day who said, I'm not on Facebook. Not a problem, because we upload all of our videos to YouTube, and then I usually put those on our website. So if you have friends that aren't on Facebook and you think they might be interested, tell them that. Tell them that we're on YouTube. So love seeing that everybody is jumping in. Okay, so cutting. So important to be accurate. And I have to tell you, I always like to, I'm going to say a little story here. When I learned to quilt, my grandmother taught me by pulling threads and using a scissors, because then you could see a little line, and using a scissors to cut. So, and she never used a sewing machine, or very rare. She got a sewing machine at some point in the process, but she didn't like it. So she ended up giving it to me. So literally, she used needle, thread, and a scissors, and a 1/4-inch marking tool to make all of her quilts. So I'm always reminded that we don't need a lot of things to make a quilt. Now, do these things make it more efficient, easier, faster, more accurate? Absolutely. But I do believe, and I'm going to probably say this more than once, that if you're going to buy a tool, I want it to work for you. Not just once, but multiple times, right? I want it to be very good about giving you, everything that you need. So, kudos to Grandma for all those years of using her scissors and paper templates if she was doing applique and stuff. So we're going to start with, to me, there's 3 tools that you have to have. A rotary cutter a cutting mat, and then some type of a ruler. So those are the three things that we're going to hit on today. So first of all, I like to talk about the fact that there are 45 millimeter and 60 millimeter rotary cutters, okay? And these are actually, this is my favorite handle for myself. Just like anything, there are so many different kinds of handles, so many different styles, colors, all sorts of things. You need to find the one that fits your hand best and does what you want it to do. So if you say, oh, but Heidi, I love the ergonomic one. Great, awesome. Sometimes these come in different colors as well. But I will tell you, the one thing I'll teach you from the very beginning is when you lay your rotary cutter down on the table, please, please cover the blade, right? So if you've retracted something like this, you pull down and you retract, or here, I can show you like this, and I pull that down and now my blade is exposed. When you are done cutting, and I don't care if you're by yourself in your sewing room or if you're in a group of people, retract your blade. Or you might have to put a quarter in our jar, right? Because this thing is going to cut your fingers off if it's a nice sharp blade. And I see way too many accidents. So get in the habit of always, when you put it down on the table, that you retract that blade, because it's as simple as you forget that it's there, you're doing something, your hand swipes across it, and you'll have a cut, all right? And who's got time to go to the hospital and get stitches, right? So absolutely, whatever size rotary cutter you've got, make sure you retract that blade. That is the most important tip, right? Okay, you always want a sharp blade. We do sell the blades as well. Everything from, depends on the size. Sometimes it's one blade in a package, sometimes it's two. We have some 5 blades. All it takes is one good nick in that blade, and you will wish you had a new blade so that you're cutting butter, right? So absolutely keep that in mind as you are, if you have to go to the store and you're saying to the quilt shop and you're like, hey, I need an extra blade. Always have one in the drawer ready to put in there, because again, if you're doing a ton of cutting and you start having the spots that don't cut, that's a nick in the blade, and you will be thankful that you have an extra one in the drawer, okay? So you wanna always think about what size blade that you've got. When it comes to rotary mats, oh my, again, we could talk for hours about rotary, the cutting mat. You want it to be self-healing. This new size that we've gotten here at the store from Creative Grids is actually 28 by 58, 28 by 58. It is, they are not cheap. I'm gonna just tell you right now, they are not cheap mats. This is wonderful because it's a longer cut. I obviously can't show you the whole thing, but it's seamless. And so it doesn't have any seams in it. Like the one mat we used to have downstairs had 2 seams to get it big enough. But we're loving this size kind of thing. I'm actually tempted to change my sewing table at home so I have one that fits. But that's a whole nother conversation. They come in all sizes and shapes. Mats come in rotating. Like we have, this is a square. This is a 12-inch square that rotates. That one's from Olfa. From OmniGrid, we have an 8-inch small one with like little curves on the side to make it easier for your finger to grab it and spin it. Or we've even got the Sue Daly cutting mats. This one in my hand is the 10-inch. The 16-inch is coming in any day, so we'll have those back in stock as well. Why? So several things. Number one, the less you move your fabric, the more accurate your cutting is going to be. Okay? So what does that mean? If I have this big mat, right, I am not going to be rotating the mat. But this table, I can walk around. I can stand over here. I can stand over there. I can go to the other side and I cannot, eliminate moving my fabric. So the less you move your fabric, the more accurate you are. That's why also some of these rotating mats are very good. Now, if you have a smaller surface and have like an 18 by 24 inch mat, it might be just as easy to just rotate the whole mat around. I've done that plenty over the years. Okay. The lines on the mat are certainly important in different kinds of cutting. If we had time and we were really doing a cutting lesson, I would tell you that in many respects, I don't use the lines on the mat unless I have a piece that's so big that I'm trying to cut that it's beyond any ruler size that I have, okay? But it's still nice to have the grids on here to line up things when you need to, okay? So lots of different mats. Do not store your mat standing up or in a place where it would, if it got warm, that it would start to curl. Mats, they typically don't like that. They will warp. So if you're traveling, put it on the bottom. Put that on the first thing, and then put your suitcases on top so that it stays flat and doesn't have the sun beating in on it. One of the nice things here at our retreat centers is that we provide cutting mats on our tables, on cutting height tables, so that you don't have to bring the big mats. Now, if you want to start bringing, we don't provide all the round little ones. If you need those, then that is something different that you would have to do. And I just saw that Stacy is on, our Stacy that works here at Hen and Chick Studio, and she's on spring break, and she's in Mexico and watching us live. We've gone international. I love it. Thanks for tuning in, Stacy, even on your vacation. I love it. Hope you're getting a good, relaxing vacation. Okay, so there are cutting mats. Then when we get to rulers, again, lots of different kinds of information here to tell you. And again, this is a snippet. I am trying to condense a lot of information into a very small amount of time. So this is an overview, okay? If you were new, you're new to quilting and you're like, what do I need? Personally, I would tell you 60 millimeter. I would tell you that you need an 8.5 inch wide by 24 inch Quilter Select ruler. We'll talk about that. And a rotary mat, a rotary cutting mat. Those would be the three tools that my preference would start with. Are they the right tools to start with? Totally depends. Let's ask 10 more people and you're gonna get 10 more answers, right? Okay, there are definitely other rulers, and I'm gonna talk about the next one that I would tell you, but having a good standard ruler. Now, typically, I've got piles of rulers here. Another standard size is 6 by 24, and we do usually have those in stock as well. But I'm going to tell you, I started using the 8.5 after it seemed like every quilt I was making for a while was a 6.5 inch border, and lining up two rulers or trying to get that extra half inch and have it be accurate was very difficult. So I went to an 8.5 inch by 24 inch ruler, and I've never been disappointed with that. Quilter Select, you can probably tell, it looks foggy. It actually has a no slip coating on the back. So the idea is that, and I wish I could move my camera, but I can't, but literally the fabric is sticking to the back of it underneath my ruler here. And so when I move the ruler, the fabric moves with it. So that is important. Another tool that we do use, the bigger the rulers get, is our gypsy gripper, because in order to, I'll say, put the pressure down on the ruler and go a little bit farther than just my hand, it's like a suction cup. It does the suction cup, and then it's on there like that so that you can move that around. This does not work for smaller rulers. There are other sizes of gypsy grippers, but this bigger one is the one we sell, and I like it for the bigger rulers. So a good standard ruler, there's always a need for it, okay? But stick around here long enough and you'll find out that we love the Stripology rulers. They're from Creative Grids Ruler, and the designer behind them is Gudrun Erla from GE Designs. And this is one of those rulers that works for you. It is not a cheap ruler. Nothing's cheap anymore, right? And the same thing's going to be said for anything that you're spending money for, right? You need education and you need service. Something you're going to get at our quilt shop no matter what tool you're buying, right? You've bought something, we're going to help you figure out how to use it. Gudrun is also an awesome support for the products that she creates. In fact, she even has a Master Your Stripology ruler book. Love it that it's spiral bound, so that, and it's filled with tips and links to videos, so that, again, it's, again, with any of these products that we buy, if we actually knew how to use them in every detail, it would be unbelievable. They probably even cook us supper, right? I know Deb was in her wish yesterday in her poll, wish she had somebody to cook her supper so she could quilt more. Maybe we can get the Stripology rulers to start cooking supper for us, right? Okay, what is a Stripology ruler? It's also a non-slick product, but it is a series of slots, and down here is like more of like a teardrop at the bottom, and you are able to put your rotary cutter. It can be done with the 45. I do like the 60-inch for this. And then you put it in the slot and you cut, okay? And again, we have some other videos. I'll put those links in so that you can see those. But so you can see the differences between cutting with an 8.5-inch ruler and cutting with a Stripology ruler. But the idea is that you don't move the fabric, better accuracy. You don't move the ruler, better accuracy. And you literally trim your edge, cut your strips. You can pick the ruler up and turn it and subcut those strips if you need to. Lots and lots of things that you can do. But it definitely falls into being more accurate. This is the XL. It also comes in the Stripology Squared. And some of these features are in the XL. And then there is also the Stripology's Quarter Mini, which has 1/8 and 1/4 inch cuts. All three of them have practical uses. I would absolutely, if I had to start with one, I would start with the XL and I would go down from there. The more you learn how to use them, the more you'll understand that, like somebody was asking me the other day about trimming up a block, and I wish I could remember who that was. And I said, oh, are you using the Stripology rulers? I have gone solely to these rulers for trimming up blocks because she makes it so easy with these. You see the black and the white squares, and then there's diagonal lines in there. It's so easy for me to get the center figured out where my block is, to make sure that I've got it, and then trim, two sides, move it, trim, the other two sides. Works so slick. It can replace sometimes some other rulers if you have these, and that is really nice. There are all sorts of specialty rulers, and by all means, that in the specialty rulers, we are glad to order whatever kind of a ruler you need, but just give us a little lead time. So if you say, I need a 10-inch square, I need a 12-inch square, whatever, that is, not a problem. I can get those, but give me I'll say 10 days to 2 weeks so that we can help you get those. For example, OmniGrid has, and I believe they have them in every single size, right? All of the different squares. This one happens to be a 15-inch. So if you were doing t-shirt quilts, and all of them had to be cut to 15 inches square, this could be helpful because again, it has a diagonal line, you know, right where the center is. Somebody's even marked the center there with a little mark, kind of thing, but it really helps get things done fast. Or if you're working with Lori Holt, we've got some of those fun papers. You might have seen my pumpkin paper piece that I did, quilt that I did. Anyway, she has these cute cut, look at, there's little flowers on there. I love it. So you can see those. And these are rulers, you know, trim it. So again, she has these set up specifically for the paper sizes. There's another couple downstairs. But again, has those diagonal lines down the middle, 1/4 inch clearly marked on the outside with the color. And it just makes them, it's super fun and easy to just put it on top. Because shouldn't quilting be fun and cute? I think it should be, okay? Or if you're doing, again, specialty projects, there are times when a specialty ruler is worth the money. One of them is a pineapple trim tool. If you've ever liked the blocks that look like this, okay, I think you can see them there, okay? If you've ever liked making those, our Pier 44 from Sunday Best Quilts is an example of a great pineapple quilt. This is the ruler to go. Because in a quilt like that, if you get off on your cutting and your piecing, your blocks can be wonky before you ever get one done. And it just helps keep everything accurate. Anyway, so I really do like, and this makes a 6, 8, and 10 inch block, and then there's a mini one too that makes some smaller ones. But anyway, so there's definitely rulers like that. There are also accessories. Gundra and Erla, G-Easy here, has stickers, a little heart. It looks just like a purple. Can you see? I don't think you can see the pre-cut, but they're all these little arrows. Little arrows. You see like the yellow arrows. So if you are one of those people like me, that I'm like, what was I cutting? Yeah, take a little sticker out and you put it on the ruler and then you won't forget, right? It gives you a reminder that, hey, I'm supposed to be cutting on that line. So that is a great little tool. Also, we all do a lot of strip cutting and want to cut off points. And so Gundra and Erla also has in her G-Easy collection the point trimmers on some common shapes. And that is something that we carry also. So absolutely some great tools. Do you need all of it? Well, maybe. Maybe that would be in your dream of the poll yesterday. And what am I talking about when I'm talking about these polls? It's chances for you to win prizes simply by answering a couple questions. There's been one every day. So today is day 4. So you have 4 chances to enter. And tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I will be giving away prizes. So our wind up to Spring Break Snippets will be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So just a couple of things, a couple more tips to be thinking about when you are cutting, because you want to be accurate for cutting. Press your fabric first. And I say that especially if it has any kind of wrinkle in it coming off of the bolt or whatever, wherever you've been storing it. The flatter your fabric lays, the easier it's going to be to cut, the more accurate. It's nothing's worse than you realize that you've had a pleat on the back side, and so you get some goofy looking piece, right? So you do want to take the time and make sure things are pressed. Do you need to pre-wash your fabric? It is definitely a personal preference. Mine is not to. I like to leave the starch that comes in the fabric, just as it is. Otherwise, if I pre-wash it, then I would suggest that you use some type of a product like Best Press to be able to actually put the starch back in so that things do not get out of whack. Use the same ruler throughout your project. Even though we'd like to say that all things are created equal, they're not. So if I go from one ruler set to another set and start using different measurements, it's very likely that I could have inaccuracy because of that. So be thinking about that before you even start cutting. Like, oh, what shapes am I going to have to cut? What other pieces am I going to have to cut? By all means, there's times when you have to use a certain ruler for something, but the more you're able to use one ruler for the project, the better you are going to be. We had a little lesson yesterday, or was it the day before? The day before, in video number 1, about the grain of fabric, right? So this is one reason why to leave your salvages on until you absolutely are done with that fabric kind of thing, is that when you lay it down on the cutting table, you want to be either, for the most part, be cutting crosswise or lengthwise grain, not bias. You don't want that stretchy edge. And if the selvage is gone, you might lose your bearings. Then start doing the test like I did on the video of how you pull your fabric and you can see where the most stretch is. When you're cutting, again, what's the rule? You're gonna always retract your blade, okay? All right, always retract your blade. But then when you're cutting, you wanna make sure that your cutting pressure is, I'm gonna say, I'll sound like Goldilocks. Not too light, not too dark, just right? There's a delicate balance of a 45-degree angle from the table to your hand. I like to put my finger on top. You want to push down and forward all at the same time. You don't necessarily need to go, if you're going so hard, then maybe your blade is dull. Maybe you're going through too many layers of fabric. So those are things to be considering. Never, ever do I want to see you sawing fabric. There's no good thing that comes out of going forward, back on the same cut. Not a good idea. You're going to shred your fabric. And so just always get in the habit of you cut away from you. And you always put the fabric that you're cutting, the piece size you need, under the ruler. So if you go crazy and go off to the side, that the piece you need is under the ruler. That's kind of always a way to think about it. If you're too light, you're not going to necessarily cut through all the layers either. And of course, if you have any kind of a thread that does not cut, change the blade. Now, I personally, if I have a thread that doesn't cut, I grab my fabric scissors, which I did not grab any scissors, and I cut through those. I don't pull it because you'd pull the thread and you'd end up with a little white line potentially. So I don't do any of that. Or I might come back and just push my rotary cutter over that one thread. But I'm very careful about that. So no sawing, no cutting towards you, no cutting. Like this is where, like, if you start doing something like this, then that's the sign that you could be in danger of cutting yourself, and that would not be good. So always keep your cutting directly in front of you. Move your cutting mat or move your body if something is not right with that, okay? And then obviously change your blade. It'll just make a world of difference for you. Stack fabrics carefully. Again, I usually don't cut more than 4 layers, and sometimes 4 is too much, but I often will cut 4. 2, if I'm really trying to be very specific about how I'm cutting something, kind of thing. I rarely ever go to 6 layers, especially if it was flannel. Flannel, I'm probably only cutting 2 even on a good day, right? Because it's just a little bit thicker. Again, accuracy is important, and if you are not getting through all those layers, there's things going on, then you want to make sure that you are have the right number of layers that you're going through. And and Elizabeth says curves have always been a problem for me. Yes, if you're trying to cut curves, That's actually where the smallest blade, which I didn't even bring up, sometimes a 28 millimeter blade, which is the smallest blade, and a rotating mat can be great because you can literally lay everything down and rotate it a little, just enough to make it work for you. So that's something to consider. Okay, so again, poll number 4, which is what is your quilting superpower, is up. You can still go back and answer poll 1, 2, and 3. So get in there and get all 4. Polls were closed at midnight tonight. Prizes will be at 9 a.m. Tomorrow. Okay, so what is the one thing that you could do when you go leave here to help your cutting? And that is practice, right? Practice, practice, practice. Just keep making quilts. You learn from every quilt you ever make. There's something that you walk away with and you go, hey, if I did this quilt again, here's what I would do different. And that's a wonderful thing. We are gonna keep learning until we can't make quilts anymore, and we've got a long ways to go before that is gonna happen. So what I am going to offer today is a free pattern. And try not to be emotional, and I'll explain why. I am offering you any orders that come in today or tomorrow, not if you're doing the free fat quarter, some of you have been doing that, it has to be an order that money is associated with. So it's not for anything that's free. But if you have a paid order and you buy something today or tomorrow, I am going to include a Perkins Dry Goods pattern. Celine Perkins has been a wonderful friend, has been very instrumental in many things that I've done here at Hen and Chick Studio. And unfortunately, she has passed away from a disease. I believe it was called pulmonary fibrosis, I believe is what it was called. And her funeral is today. She will be missed. She has been behind most of our mystery quilts that we've done here at Hen and Chick Studio. You might recognize, for some of you, Grandpa's Best was one of those. We've often featured Lavina's Diamonds. We've had that. And her patterns are just timeless. I've always gone back to them when I'm looking for that good traditional pattern. And I'm so sorry for her family. She passed away way too young. I know she had a lot more creativity in her, and she will be very sadly missed. So in her honor, let's improve your cutting by practicing. And if you place an order today or tomorrow, I will put one of these patterns in for free. No coupon code required. I will just know that if there's a pattern that comes in, again, today or tomorrow, that is an order that comes in today or tomorrow, that is what we're going to put in there in her honor. So on that note, this has been a fun week for me to do Spring Break Snippets. It has been just wonderful information. Everything is still on the website. This video will go on the website as well. And again, prizes will be announced tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. right back here on Facebook. The video will go to YouTube just like always, but we'll have some great prizes and great drawings. There's hundreds of you that have been participating this week, and I love that. It really, really fills my heart with joy. So everybody, have a great day, and until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., have fun, go answer those polls, and practice your cutting. Bye, everybody.